welcome to another episode of Your Career Success, the show dedicated to inspiring and empowering career women around the globe. I'm your host, Suzi Mosley-Payne, and today I've got a fantastic guest and interview topic for you. So I'm joined by the incredible Natalie Ford, who is a productivity and lifestyle coach. Natalie helps women in their careers, life and businesses be super intentional with their time, set clear priorities and create harmony across all areas of their life. So I'm super excited to introduce you to Natalie and get into the interview because there is so much great value and some amazing tips and tricks in there for you. Natalie, welcome. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. Tell us a little bit about yourself and who you help and what your productivity and lifestyle coaching business is all about, because I'm super interested.
Well, again, thank you for having me. It's an absolute pleasure to be here with you. Briefly, I came from a corporate background many years ago. I was a mortgage consultant. And then back in 1999, I set up my own cleaning company, left work because I couldn't do the hours that I needed to do to be at home with the children. So set up my own cleaning company, very, very quickly ended up working more hours than I'd ever worked before, feeling very stressed, overwhelmed, drowning under the to-do list and just constantly feeling like I needed an extra 25 hours a day. Since 2005, I've worked with women in business and careers that exactly the same as me, just feeling like they're busy being busy, there's never enough hours in the day, and helping them really to recreate that balance. I work with women leaders who, like I say, feeling overwhelmed, feeling like there's no balance between the career and their personal life. And I help them to organise and prioritise their time so that they can recreate that balance. So it doesn't have to be a choice between having a successful career or business and a life that brings you the happiness and the joy and the fulfilment. It's not a choice. You can do both. It's just more about being intentional with your time rather than just trying to do more or trying to fit more hours into your day.
Amazing. So I think this topic is going to be so powerful for helping every woman who watches this or listens to this. So tell us a little bit more about it and how do we go about reframing our time to be intentional?
I think one thing that all of us tend to do is we feel if the busier we are, the more successful we are. And it's almost become a badge of honor, I think, that, if you walk up to someone and say, oh, how are you? Oh, I'm busy. It's almost we've attached those two things together. One of the things that I focus on with my client is actually we've all got the same amount of hours in the week. We've all got 168 hours in a week. That's never going to change. It doesn't matter how much you beg, cry, scream, wish for more hours. It's never going to change. And trust me, I've tried more than once. So the 168 hours is what we've got. Being intentional with our time is about looking at those 168 hours and seeing how we're utilising them. So the way that I look at it with clients is think about it. If you've got 168 counters, and for every hour that you're spending through the week, you've got to exchange one of your counters. And that's a really powerful way of thinking about it. So one of the takeaways or one of the action points really is over the next week, think about that. Is what you're about to do with your time or is what you've done today, are you happy with the exchange of the counters for how you've spent your time? And it's really, when you think about it in those terms, because we're doing it anyway, we're doing it unconsciously, we're just spending our time as though we've got never-ending supply of it. if you start to think about it, actually, yeah, I've got to exchange one of my counters and I've only got 168 of them. By the end of the week, they're all going to have gone. And then I get replenished with another 168. It's a really visual way of thinking about how you're using your time and helping you to be more intentional with it. Are you happy with what you're about to exchange for those counters? And is it kind of a equal exchange?
Yeah, that is I've not thought about it that way before, but I think you're right. It's that, and maybe you're getting me thinking. I'm going to try and reframe mine. I mean, I always set the best of intentions, so I always spend the night before planning my day out, and I'm really good at saying what's a must-have that I should do.
Yeah.
Or my most important tasks for the day ahead. And I always list out the personal ones, the things that I need to do in my career, anything business related. And I can't say that I achieve it all every day, but I think I'm not being as probably the reason is I'm not being as intentional with my time as perhaps what I should be. Yeah. So I need to really think about that myself. That's really powerful.
It's not even about that you've got to be doing something. Sometimes it could be that you exchange one or two or three or however many counters you want for lying in the bath with a glass of wine or sitting reading your favourite book or walking outside with the dog. Or it doesn't have to be a doing thing. It's just, am I happy with exchanging one of my counters for what I'm about to do? And it's just really easy to get distracted and pulled off point by other people's priorities or, emergencies. Life's like that, isn't it? It's very rare that you'll get a week where everything went exactly as you thought that it would. It's not saying that you can plan your week within an inch of its life. But it's just, and I think it's important to take that time for yourself. But it's also a case of, do you know what? It wasn't what I would have planned to do with my time, but I'm happy with that exchange.
So being happy with the trade-offs then is the takeaway I got there. So making a conscious choice on that trade-off. And if somebody else is derailing you, I mean, sometimes if emergencies happen, you can't control that. But in a work setting, by letting someone throw you off track or railroad your diary, you could end up where that trade-off's not working in your favour.
Yes.
And is it worth it, or do you need to be less of a people pleaser and more, not rigid, but firmer on your own boundaries for your time? That's really interesting.
Yeah. It is, and I think boundaries, a lot of us are people pleasers, aren't we? And we don't like to say no. I think we have this inside fear of saying no to people. So we say we can have our day perfectly planned out, and then somebody will come along and go, oh, can you just do this for me? Yes, I can do that. Oh, can you pop into this meeting? Oh, yeah, okay, I can do that. And one of the things that's really useful about using the 168 hours is, okay, if you've said yes to that, by default, you've just said no to something else. So if you had your day perfectly planned out, what are you moving out of the way? Because you can't just say, oh, well, actually, do you know what? This week I need 172 counters, because it doesn't work like that. It's 168 and that's non-negotiable. So that's another way of looking at it with boundaries as well. Is what you're about to do a priority for you, or is it a priority for somebody else that's just derailed your day?
And what is the trade-off? So are you giving up your personal time by working late, for example? I mean, that's an obvious one, isn't it?
Yeah.
But by working late of an evening, say you pull a late night and you're working till 7, 8 o'clock at night, what are you sacrificing there? Are you sacrificing time with your family? Are you sacrificing a walk with the dog? Are you giving up your self-care time? And I think making a conscious decision around whether that's a good trade-off is really important.
Yeah.
I think as well, for me, one of the things that I find is that I'll plan my day with the best of intentions, but sometimes you just don't feel like what you've planned. That's the other thing, isn't it? So I try and not be too rigid with my daily planner, and just, if I feel super motivated on one day, I'll go for it, and I'll try and really be productive, smash through my to-do list, and really get into the mode of, boxing off as many things as I can, and really focus down. On other days, perhaps I'm like having an off day where I'm not feeling so well, or I'm just feeling a bit low, then I'll try and be a bit kinder to myself now, and just recognize the ebbs and the flows of the week, and just what my mindset and my body is telling me. So if I need more self-care on one evening versus another, and I think that's really important as well.
Yeah. And I think that, again, is the benefit of doing it over a week of 168 hours rather than a day. Because I think very often you can get, and I think you're absolutely right, it's about how can you make it easier, because everything feels better, and you'll be more productive, you'll feel like you've achieved more if it feels like it's in ease and flow. Whereas if you've got a mentality of I've got to do this at 9 o'clock, I've got to do this at 12 o'clock, I've got to do this, then that's kind of pushing, which, in some circumstances or some days, yes, that's exactly what you need to do. But actually think about how can you make it feel easy. So the benefit of looking at it as a week rather than a day, and think about, I call them success steps with my clients, but think about, what are your non-negotiables for this week? If nothing else goes to plan, what are the 6 to 8 to 10, no more than 10 things that have to get done this week? Because if you look at it like that, because it's consistency. I remember, it's got to be about 5 years ago, listening to a meditation, and in it said, forward is forward no matter what the pace. And I thought, that's really interesting, because on those days where you just don't feel like you've got the motivation, or you're poorly, or things don't go to plan, it's very easy to just start beating yourself up about that, going, oh, look, you said you were going to get this done, you didn't do this, you didn't do that. What small thing can you do just to move the needle forward, just that wee tiny little bit, so that then you haven't got that inner voice? Look, you said you were going to do this, you said you were going to do that, you didn't get it done. It's about doing those consistent little things day to day to day, rather than, like you say, have that one day where you go, oh my God, I smashed it out the park today. Look at all these things that I did. Now it's going to take me 5 days to recover from that. It's more about working within yourself and go, right, if nothing else went to plan this week, as long as these things get done, I'm good. And always undercommit that rather than overcommit. Because I always think, if you're going into the week going, bloody hell, I've got to get all these things done, and how am I going to get that done? And I've got this to do, and what about this? And what, you're setting yourself up for a failure. So then you get to the end of the week and go, oh, I knew I wouldn't get that all done. So why set yourself up for that feeling of not good enough, not able to do it all? Because then you go into the following week carrying that energy with you. Whereas if you undercommit and said, right, as long as these 6 things get done this week, it'll be, that's good. Actually, do you know what? I've got 8 things done. That's amazing. It's a completely different energy. Same things got done, but with a completely different energy attached to them.
I think that's fantastic advice. I love the idea of the non-negotiables. That's similar to what I do about the must-dos. Yeah. The most important tasks that have to get done in a week. I also think categorizing them into like personal, career, business, life and family, I always like to put them in boxes. So I make sure that every week there's something in the priority list for my own self-care. Typically for me, I try to make sure I get like a good hour a night, just completely chilling out.
Yeah.
Because it keeps me in a really positive mindset. And also planning the next day is another non-negotiable for me. I always make sure that I before I go to bed at night, I've done a reflection on the day that I've had, and anything that hasn't been done, I'll make sure is rolled into the next day, and I'll plan for success for the next day. I am a bit of a planner. It's you can tell that I started my career in project management all those years ago. It's stayed with me ever since, but I love it, and it enables me to just start the day on a really positive note, knowing exactly where I'm headed, and then I've got no feeling of chaos or floundering around.
Yes.
So I think the non-negotiables so powerful. What do you think? It's a bit of an off-topic question, but one of the debates that I have with quite a few career women is compartmentalization versus harmony across all areas of your life. So for me, when I was consulting, I had a little baby, when I first went back to consulting after having my first child, I'd always had harmony across. I was always like, the job was bleeding into the personal time, and there wasn't much compartmentalization between the two. And then what I found when I had Roman, my oldest, is that I needed to be present with him. So I really boxed off and compartmentalized the different areas of my life.
Mm-hmm.
As a businesswoman, like when I was working in corporate and doing a consulting role, although it was self-employed, I still found that I needed to do that. When I've worked for myself in different businesses, like I've done the coaching business for the startups and the female entrepreneurs, I've found that there's been much more harmony and much more blending of all of the boundaries together. How do you find that, and what advice would you give on that?
I think be very clear, and I think I call them containers, but boxes, containers. If you think that your life makes up several different areas, so there's very, very few of us that have just got one area to consider. Most of us have got a career or a business. We've got maybe education, we've got family, we've got charities, we've got hobbies, there's lots of different areas that can make up life. And again, going back to the 168 hours, all of them have to fit in there. Well, when you think, well, some of those hours are going to be taken up with sleep, then you've got a reduced number straight away. So then it's about looking and thinking, right, how many hours do I want to contribute to each one of those containers or boxes? And I think it's unrealistic to say every single week the numbers are going to be the same, because personal circumstances, you might have a big project coming on at work, so that means that you've got to put more time into that particular container. So I always think about it that, do you remember, this is going to show my age, do you remember graphic equalizers? Do you remember on like hi-fis, you'd see, and depending on the base level, it'd go up and down.
Mm-hmm.
So I think about it very much in that way. So they're going to think of the containers or boxes of your life in exactly the same way. They're all going to add up to the same amount of hours at the end of the week, but they're going to go up and down. So it could be, let's say, the school holidays. We've just finished school holidays in the UK. So that means that for a lot of people, then their childcare container has gone up. Well, we've already said the hours in the week can't go up with it. So that means that the hours have got to come from somewhere. And it's been intentional with where are those hours going to come from. So, and I know there's a lot of people that say you've got to plan 5 years in advance and you've got to do this and you've got to do that. For me, I work 12-month goals with clients because I just think any longer than that it's just, there's too many variables. But what I do is I look and I plan with them every 7 days. So it's like, it's not a forever plan, it's a for the next 7 days plan. So if the children are on holiday, which means that you've got to spend more time at home, where are we going to make those hours come from? The next 7 days, right, okay, now you've got a big project going on at work, so the work hours have probably got to come up. What do we need to put in place to bring the hours in other areas different? And being okay with that, to me, there is no such thing as perfect balance on a day-to-day basis over a long term. You might get it for a couple of days and go, God, that was perfect. And then something will happen and it'll, but what you can do is you can get harmony. So you've got the harmony between the two, because you know, yeah, do you know what? I've had to work more hours this week, which means that I've had to reduce the amount of hours home or hobbies or what have you. But you know, the next 7 days after that, it's going to change again. And you can intentionally make a decision to say, right, this container's been up here this week. I'm intentionally going to make sure that something else comes up. It might be your self-care, it might be children, family, whatever. But so I think about it like that. That's the really image of harmony to me, rather than that perfect thing of flowers and butterflies and yes, everything works all, because it's just not realistic, is it?
No, I think that's really, really good advice. I can always tell when that harmony is long-term out of balance for me. So one of the things that I'm not very good at is if I don't feel like I get any self-care time at night. So I always find that I need some reset time. It could be watching Netflix, it could be anything, it could be having a walk, just something that just brings me down and just relaxes me before I go to bed. And if I don't get that, then I'm really bad at the sacrifice and trade-off for me is sleep. So I can feel that my bedtime gets later and later, then it makes me tired the next day. And then if I don't correct that and I let that prolong for a period of time, then it has a real negative knock-on impact on the other areas of my life. So I think, like you say, anything can be out of balance, but only for real short-term periods, because otherwise, if you're out of harmony for a long period of time, the trade-off, it becomes a negative, doesn't it? So I think that's great advice.
I think it is. I think short-term, we can get away with anything short-term, can't we? So, you know, I mean, if you've had late nights or early mornings, you might get away with that short-term. But if you were doing that on a day-to-day basis over the 6 months, a year, 2 years, then it's going to start having an effect. And I think one of the key things is to be aware, check in with yourself. How are you feeling? Because then you can look at that and then you can do something about it quicker. And again, one of the things that I say very, very often to my clients is your business or your career is only ever going to be as healthy and vibrant as you are. If you're feeling overwhelmed, you're feeling exhausted, you're feeling on the edge of burnout, that has a knock-on effect into all areas of your life. So I remember my 20s and 30s, if I'd have said about self-care and I was going to take time to look after myself, and the people around me would have thought that A, I was selfish, and B, that I'd lost the plot and was going to go and do something, live in a tent on a beach or something. Whereas now I think self-care has become a really integral part, or it should be an integral part of all of our lives. It's not a luxury, it's an essential for you, because if you're not feeling your best and you're not doing everything that you can to look after yourself, then that is then going to impact on all of the other areas of your life. And it doesn't, people think, oh, self-care, I haven't got time for that, it's going to take me 2 hours a day. It could be 5 minutes. It's like one of the things that I've started to do in a morning is I'll walk barefooted on the grass with take the dog out for just a walk around the garden in the morning, barefoot on the grass. And it's just like 2 minutes, but it's just really, really nice to be outside. It just helps me to feel grounded. But you could do anything. You could do yoga, meditation. You could do stretch class. You could do burpees or star jumps, or do whatever you need to do. bath, sit and watch Netflix. It doesn't have to be the same thing for everybody. It's like, what helps you to feel like you're recharging your batteries and you're refilling you, so that then you can give that energy into the different areas of your life.
Yeah, and I think as well, you can't be high performance. You can't perform at your best and be high performant if you're teetering on the edge of burnout, like you say. Yeah. So the self-care, like you say, in my 20s and my 30s, a lot of the time it didn't get a look in. It wasn't something that was spoken about in the same way. Certainly now it is a very conscious part of my daily routine. Yeah. And it is really important, because for me to perform at my best, not just in a work setting, but to be a really present mum to the kids, or to be present in every way and enjoy the different aspects of my life, not being in a burnt out state is where I need to be, because I've been the opposite. I've been the queen of burnout many times over, and it takes such a long time to recover from. But being very tired and burnt out mentally, physically, emotionally, whatever it is, you just can't perform. You've nothing to give, have you? So having that balance, and this is why the topic of being intentional with your time, I think it is so powerful for anyone, not just for career women. So that's amazing. And I think there are different seasons.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as well, it's what is it that you're trying to achieve? If you're that close to burnout and you're that busy, being busy, or you're you think you haven't got 5 minutes for yourself in a day, what is it that you're trying to achieve? Because if we think our number one job in our life is to be happy and feel fulfilled, if you're on the edge of burnout and you just feel like you're just really close to the edge all of the time, you have to ask the question of, what is it that you're trying, like, how does that feed into your happiness and your fulfillment?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I could talk about this topic all day. It's so powerful. Amazing. Right. Well, I think we've covered a lot there. There's some really great implementable steps that anyone watching this can take. So the non-negotiables is a definite one that I'm going to take and use. The amount of hours that you've got in your week and how you're using those as, what did you say, credits? What did you call them?
Counters.
So I'm going to use that as well. I think that's really powerful.
Yeah.
So that'll get me to think. I think I saw a podcast interview the other week where there was a guy and he was describing it, but he didn't describe it as counters. He was describing it as money. So either works. So like giving away, every time you're giving away a portion of your time, you're giving away X amount of money. That's why. And I thought, yeah, I need to really think about this.
Yeah, it's a visual
I'm going to try that.
Yeah, it's a really visual way to get you thinking about how valuable your time is. Because there's no deadline, we can just keep going and going and going. It's there's nothing making us think about it. Whereas if you actually visually imagine yourself having to hand a counter over or hand something over in exchange, it's just a really powerful way of thinking, oh, actually, yeah, it's not as finite as I thought it was, because I've only got this stash of 168 of them, and then watching them go down each week. It's just more of a visual way of thinking about it to help you to be aware, because it's just too easy to waste time, isn't it, and get distracted and pulled off track of what you wanted to do if there's nothing or nobody going, hang on a minute, have we thought about this?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's really, really powerful. I'm going to try that then. So they're the main takeaways. So your challenge for anyone watching this is reframe and be intentional with your time. Look at what your non-negotiables are. Plan in increments of 7 days, and then refresh your goals, your plan based on the rhythm and harmony of your life.
Yeah.
Make sure you include lots of time for self-care, and spend your 168 counters in a week very wisely.
Yes, think about it, and just think
amazing.
Yeah, 100%.
That's great. Well, thank you so much, Natalie.
You are so welcome.
I've loved speaking about this today. You've given so much value. There's so many great tips in there. I'm going to watch it back because I think there's even more that you've covered off. So amazing. Thank you so much for your time. And we'll make sure for anyone who wants to get in touch with Natalie and find out more, we'll make sure that all of Natalie's links are in the show notes. Please do connect with her on social media. And if you've enjoyed this episode and you're ready to take control of your own career success and create your goals and go after them with confidence and conviction, then don't forget to hit the subscribe button, follow us on social media, and come and join us in our free communities over on Facebook and over on LinkedIn. Thank you so much, Natalie, and thank you everyone for watching. Have a great day.